Hi friends, I hope all is well. A couple of videos ago, I created a collage on a 16 by 20 inch sheet of 140-pound watercolor paper. Then I cut it into 16 smaller collages. I had another sheet of that paper, so I'm challenging myself in this video to create one large collage. I'm approaching it differently this time because of its size. During the previous project, I had to be concerned about having enough elements on each of the 16 collages. The size of the elements had to be smaller. This time the elements will be larger, especially on the base layer, which is what I'm working on now. This text element I'm gluing down with matte medium is from an old dictionary. I have mentioned in other videos that I prefer to orient text elements either upside down or sideways so it isn't easy to read. I want it to be seen as an element, not reading material. For this piece, I'm placing it upside down and leaving the edge with the side letters visible because I think it adds a nice detail. I want to mention that I put a small amount of matte medium in a cup that you see off to the side. It's easier to manage that instead of taking the matte medium straight from the container. Also, it helps from exposing the matte medium that's in the container to air, which will start to dry it out. If there's any matte medium left in the red cup at the end of the art session, I'll cover it with plastic wrap so it's ready to use for the next time. Besides using matte medium to glue the elements, I'm using it to seal the top of the papers. This is a step that I used to not do, but I find now that it helps to protect the collage. I like adding varnish to seal my artwork, but I can omit that step if I use matte medium on top of it. As I did in the other video, I moved my table away from the wall so I could walk around it. This helps when working on the top area. My body won't block your view of what I'm doing. Also, I can view the collage from all four sides. It's an excellent way to get a different perspective of how the design is taking shape. I can see if it's balanced and cohesive from all four sides. You'll notice that I sometimes place elements in an area to make sure I like it before gluing it down. Sometimes it's left there while I work on other areas of the collage. I'm constantly thinking about adding elements with different values along with adding balance and cohesiveness to the collage. This means I'm always thinking ahead. If I put the turquoise with purple pattern paper, which is mid-tone in value, in this area, I'm thinking, will there be enough contrast against the black stripe element to the right and the yellow element above it? Also, I'm thinking that I'll need to add a dark value below it, like this deep navy paper, to balance the design. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you know that I want to create artwork that has a dominant amount of light and or dark values and less mid-tone values. In the past, I've created artwork with a balance of all three values or a dominant amount of mid-tone values. I want to achieve a design that's either mostly light or dark value or a combination of those two values for this collage. The element that's bright green with white circles guided me to choose this bright orange with white stripes paper. The collage was leaning towards a muted color palette, and I wasn't sure that's what I wanted. To be honest, I didn't have much of a plan going into this art session, so there'll be a lot of trying out of different colors and shape elements. As you can see, this base layer has squares and rectangles. I like having these shapes on that layer because the elements that will be glued on top will have different shapes that will add an interesting detail to the design. I like working this way because I have more leeway and room to add different shapes on top of the base layer. I'm starting to add duplicate or similar papers at this point to avoid having this layer being too busy. I'll add music while you watch me finish this layer. If you read my community posts, you know that July is a busy month for me and I don't have much time to film videos. On this day, I only had time to create the base layer. It was a good time for me to take a break from this collage anyway and think about the next layer. As I mentioned previously, I didn't go into this art session with much of a plan. There are two areas I was unsure about, the two orange elements and the yellow one. The questions I was asking myself were, is the yellow element too different of a color than the other elements and too big? How can I possibly break up that area? Regarding the two orange elements, is it too different of a color that it's standing out more than it should on the base layer? The bright green with the white circle elements are bright, but it works well with the colors of the other elements. I converted the collage at this stage to grayscale so I could review it while I was away. In real time, it was about 2 weeks before I got back to this collage, but for you, it'll be seconds. After much thought, I decided to paint on top of both orange elements with unbleached titanium for a few reasons. Bright orange was not a color I wanted to have in this collage. It would stand out too much, especially on the base layer. It's not to say that I won't use it again in a similar color palette collage in the future, but I didn't want to use it in this one. Also, it was a mid-tone value element, so by covering it with unbleached titanium, we'll change it to a light value. I prefer to have another light value on the base layer. One more thing, I think that unbleached titanium fits better with the existing color palette than if I used white. I'm not applying a heavy coat of paint. I want some of the pattern to show through. I did end up applying 2 thin coats of paint to get the coverage I wanted. I will address the yellow element in a moment. Next, the dictionary pages looked a bit plain to me. I like that they read as a light value, but each one needed another detail on top. Instead of adding painted paper, I decided to stencil 2 different large elements, the number 8 and a capital letter B. I don't mind that the number 8 is legible, but I thought it'd be interesting to have only part of the letter B stenciled. Some may see it as a number 3, and I'm okay with that. I will change the orientation when using both stencils on the other dictionary pages to add a nice detail. Now I'm addressing the yellow element by adding another orange paper that I painted unbleached titanium on top. This is a unique paper that I thought I should use again to help balance the design. It reads as a light value like the yellow element, so it's a subtle way to break up this area. You'll notice that I'm starting to add different shape elements at this stage. After this element is glued in place, I'll add a dark value element next to it. This dark value element will cover a large portion of the yellow element underneath it and add value contrast. Then I'll continue to add different shape elements to the rest of the collage. I tried to replicate the color of the yellow paper so I could add a few more elements in that color to balance the design. This paper is close to that color, but it's not exact, and that's okay. I like that this semicircle isn't the exact size and shape as the burgundy that's below it. It's a unique element that adds interest to the design. Another thing I thought about was how to better integrate the bright green pattern elements. In a mostly muted color palette, a bright color can look out of place. To make it feel more intentional, I'm adding elements using this light value bright green pattern paper. I will add it in another area as well to help balance the overall design. Another way to incorporate the bright green elements into the design is to add muted color elements on top of each one. These elements will be different sizes and shapes, so the two areas won't look exactly alike. Also, I'm bringing in more light and dark value elements to keep the overall look of the design leaning towards those two values. I ran out of time again on this day. This collage is not quite done because it needs a few more elements. I took another grayscale photo to look over until I can pick up where I left off. There is an even amount of mid to dark value elements, so I need to think of a way to add more light and or dark values. The following section is the final collage session. It's time to finish this collage. To be honest, I enjoy working on an art project over multiple days, especially a large project. It gives me time to evaluate what needs to be done to make it balanced, cohesive, and a good design. All that's left to do is to add a few small to mid-size elements. Also, I'm focusing on mainly adding light and dark value papers. I'll add music while you watch me finish this collage, and I'll come back for the final review. I like the bold design of the 16 by 20 inch collage. There's so many elements that I like, from the black stenciled numbers and letters, to the various sizes and shapes of the elements, to the combination of pattern and single color papers. Do I think it leans more towards light or dark value? Let's look at the grayscale version to help decide. There are slightly less midtone values and light and dark values, but I admit the collage overall looks balanced. Not exactly my initial goal, but I don't want to continue reworking this collage. I think overall it has a good design. As a collage or any other art project evolves while you're working on it, the outcome may change. I find that sometimes I don't want to rework artwork if it's successful, but not what I initially wanted it to look like. In the future, I will work towards creating collages that lean either overall light and or dark in value. This means I need to go into the art session with a design plan, which I didn't have for this collage. I hope you got something out of this video. If nothing else, I hope you see that it's okay to start a project with a certain goal, but the finished project may look different. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Take care.